I want to be hopeful about the registry. I don't think that there's a single friend, very few family members that are still connected to me. Most of my friends, most of my closest friends are other folks on the registry. Get connected to people who care. My dad had been easily the most consistent source of support, love and care and prayer for me from the moment I was first arrested. So my dad and stepmom live here in Houston. They had opened their home to me. So thankfully, by the grace of God, I had a good, solid, Christ-loving home to come to straight out of prison. It was a good place. They didn't charge me any rent. I was just really blessed in those circumstances. But you can only kind of interrupt your retired parents' lives for so long. Eventually, I needed to move out on my own. Found a little house in the 3rd Ward in Houston. Lived in a little, I call it the shack. It was a tiny little apartment at the back of a property. Literally had weeds growing up through the floors. There were corners of the floor I could see the dirt outside. I had massive roach infestations. I had plumbing problems where there was literally feces pooling underneath the house for a long period. I had mold problems. It was a bit of a rough neighborhood. I think probably 3 or 4 nights a week I was listening to gunfire. I literally, because of the registry, I was forced to rely on the grace and generosity of someone who believes in redemption and second chances. I don't think that there's a single friend, very few family members that are still connected to me from my life pre-prison. Of course, my dad, my stepmom, they're still, I'm deeply connected to both of them. I've had opportunities since prison to slowly rebuild broken bridges between me and my mom. So it's been really beautiful to see that relationship see some real redemption and renewal. Most of my friends, most of my closest friends are other folks on the registry. Obviously, we share that struggle together, and there's a lot of camaraderie that comes from within that shared struggle. Shortly after prison, I guess about 3-4 months out of prison, I got a job at Kroger. Turns out Kroger does not hire folks on the registry. So I was relieved of that job pretty quickly. There's a beautiful nonprofit here in town called the Work Faith Connection. I had gotten connected there, met a lot of beautiful people at the Work Faith Connection. Every moment of meaningful work that I've had since I got out has been largely due to my relationships there. I shortly afterwards got a job for a construction cleanup company, literally sometimes scrubbing the grout of tile with toothbrushes. These were like final cleans on construction jobs, scraping paint off of windows and things of that nature. Tremendously blessed with the job I've got now. I work for a Christian employer who just happens to be that somebody I knew, a good Christian that I knew, had a friend who is a graphic designer who owns a graphic design company. So this career that I had literally written off while I was in prison, I thought I've been 10 years out of an industry that requires you to stay relevant. I haven't touched a computer in 10 years. Nobody's going to want to hire me. And this guy was, we got to know each other, became friends, and about a year after meeting each other, he had an opportunity to give me a job. So that's where I work now. I've been there for about the last 3.5 years. We have opportunity, we pray together, we fellowship together on a regular basis. I get to do the stuff that I love to do, making pretty things for a lot of the work that we do is for nonprofits and churches. So it's even kingdom work. I get to like reintroduce to the career I loved while getting to do kingdom work along the way. My interests and hobbies, I'd say just in terms of priority, the primary one is quality time with friends. I know that doesn't fit into the hobby space exactly, but it occupies a large portion of my time, catching coffee with folks, catching up, fellowshipping, praying with folks, etc. But that being said, there are a number of specifically social activities. I mean, I love watching a good movie, so I've invested a little bit of money in a 4K TV and a Atmos sound system and whatnot. And I love catching a movie, having friends over to share the movies. But the things that occupy the bulk of my time right now, I mean, here was a beautiful one just about a month ago, 6 weeks ago. This sweet pup showed up on my doorstep with a giant laceration in his neck from an embedded collar. And of course, I couldn't return him to whoever had done that to him. So I thought I was just going to foster him until he found another home, but I was fooling myself. I think God knew something better. And so he stayed with me. His name's Cooper. And Cooper occupies a giant chunk of my time now, but like it's a really good occupation. Long before prison and while I was there, I had a real desire to learn to play guitar. And I'm not real great at it. But I enjoy it. And I have learned that it doesn't take being great at it to do it enough to enjoy it. And, so there's that. My personal experience has been that finding jobs is even more difficult than finding a place to live. I feel like there are people all over the place who might be willing to, if they'll just sit down and have a conversation with you, they might be willing to give you a chance to rent something to you. But people do not want to hire those of us on the registry. And this does something, even though I love my job, there's a sense sometimes that if I ever felt called to another city, if I ever felt called to another occupation, there's just like this crazy, immense pressure. I don't think that practically or responsibly speaking, I could ever leave the job I've got. I've got another good friend right here in town who's visiting from Austin, who's currently unemployed. And it's hard finding a job, sitting down with somebody. You can see it in their face the moment you say, I've got a criminal background, and they ask you the nature of it, and you tell them that it's a sex offense, everything changes. The moment I reveal that I'm on the registry, somebody's countenance changes, their treatment of me changes, their perception of me, their understanding of who I am and who I've been. So it's just this constant, heavy social pressure that's all related to my public existence on the registry. Follow the rules. I don't care how ridiculous they seem. I don't care how unfair they seem. For now, we are under an obligation, a legal obligation, and they will put you back in prison if you bend or kind of shape those rules to your liking. So first of all, follow the rules. Really, probably the most important thing is get connected to people who care. My personal experience has been that the first place to find people who care is within the context of a Christ-centered community. I think that 12-step programs are a good start. Celebrate Recovery is a good start. There's a group here in Texas called Castamonia, which is literally a Christian 12-step program for folks with sexual addictions. But a Christ-centered recovery group, people who are aware of what it means to have been refashioned in the image and likeness of Jesus. I want to be hopeful about the registry. I see kind of the social pressure that still exists, the political pressure on folks, even folks with good intentions who are going into office who might have a desire to change things, but there's immense political pressure on them. I'm not, if I'm honest, I'm not hopeful that the registry laws are going to change. I see my future as a future of a man on the registry. I see if I'm ever going to be married or meaningfully engaged with someone of the opposite sex, it's going to be someone who is just miraculously blessed with the patience to live also on the registry. Shortly after prison, through my connection at Work Faith, I met this amazing woman, in many ways a much better Christian than I am. We were friends in ministry for a long time. We served in recovery ministry. And eventually there was a feeling in both of us through prayer that the Lord was telling something bigger than just a story, bigger than just friendship. We got engaged. We were planning on getting married. Then she felt a call to a new job, and this new job put her in a school. She's a chaplain of a school here in town. Well, the school, naturally, had a problem with the fact that her fiance was on the registry. And that created some real tension between the two of us that ultimately ended up kind of destroying the relationship. She felt deeply called to this work. The school wouldn't allow her to work. They put insane restrictions on her life and my life and our relationship life just so that she could have the job. Ultimately, those restrictions were just too much for our relationship to kind of manage. So we're still in this position of her trying to figure out if this role at this school is what she's called to long term, and if it is, it's probably the end of whatever we thought God was putting together for us. Whether we like it or not, those of us on the registry, it's a defining characteristic of our lives from here until the thing gets abolished, or we live in a state where you can get off of it. There's no practical route to getting off the registry. And so you don't really ever get away from the label.
This is Brenda Jones, Executive Director of NARSOL. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, check out our other Lives on the Registry videos. If you want to know more, visit narsol.org and check out the Resources tab. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for future notifications. See you again soon.